The Lunaverse by Rainbow Double Dash. Episode 16. The Hero of Oaton by That Guy Fex. Chapter 1. I Need a Hero. It was a rare day for Trixie. One in which, against all odds of the cosmos, she didn't have anything to do. Normally, when her assistant Pokey Pierce had a day off, like today, there was inevitably a mass of paperwork waiting to ambush her in her office. Yet, some miracle of good fortune had led to Trixie discovering not only a small and easily manageable hoofful of documents on her desk that morning, and it had taken less than a half an hour to power through them. That left her with the entire day to do as she pleased, with no obligations, appointments, or even minor errands that needed doing. An almost completely free day. This was something that needed to be savored. The Azure Unicorn almost teared up at the realization. Quick check to see if anypony was looking. No? Good. Tearing up commencing.
A day off, all to myself. How to spend it? Oh, how to spend it!
The immediate notion of crawling right back to bed and napping for a while was certainly promising. But since these kinds of days were so rare, she didn't want it to go by that fast, which napping would certainly make happen. Besides, she did that anyway, even on the days she was supposed to be busy. Hence why the paperwork tended to pile up like it usually did, even when an assistant on hoof to help. No, she should do something special with her precious free time. Something fun. Fun. That thing that other ponies who weren't representatives of the Night Court got to have. Perhaps she was exaggerating a bit, but for a supposedly unimportant position she'd been saddled with, there seemed to be a suspicious amount of work involved with being the Night Court representative in Ponyville. Trixie intended to take advantage of every possible opportunity to avoid said work and enjoy herself, especially now that she had friends who seemed to genuinely enjoy her company.
Let's go to see who's free today. Let's hit the park or something. Think we're scheduled for decent weather today.
As she hurried back, she'd be able to check up on her friends before noon hit, and the customary hide in our houses for an hour out of fear of the sun tradition was done with. Trixie had noted that since Corona's return, the ponies were extending that hour somewhat past its 1,000-year-old tradition, and were certainly taking it more seriously than they had before. Trixie couldn't blame them. Corona might have had her powers severely damaged by the elements of harmony. But as long as she was out there, she remained a very real threat. One that most ponies of Equestria had good reason to fear would resurface sooner than later. Trixie's impression soured.
Good job, Trixie, she said to herself. Ruin a perfectly good mood with pessimism. Corona will show up when she shows up, and when she does, you and her friends will shove a huge dose of harmony so far up her flaming posterior that she'll be throwing up rainbows for the rest of her life for wrestling returns in the core of the sun. Simple as that.
She needed to psych herself up some, because whether her ego let her admit it out loud or not, Trixie was afraid. It was a lot easier to focus her attention on immediate issues like keeping her friends safe from the machinations of Night Court nobles like Greengrass than letting herself get worked up over a confrontation that may be months or longer down the road. But the knowledge of the inevitable rematch with Corona was always an unpleasant backthought that never left Trixie's mind. When the time for that fight did arrive, would the elements of harmony work a second time? Trixie had no real reason to suspect they wouldn't, but she wasn't comfortable relying entirely on the elements either. Corona was insane, not stupid. Trixie felt a sinking sense of paranoia that the maddened Alicorn may just find some way to counter the elements of harmony. If not Corona, it was also possible Sakura might deal up some ancient Zebra magic that could at least interfere with the elements' ability to function. The problem was, Trixie didn't know much about the elements of harmony, despite being the element of magic herself. Far as she could tell, the things just sort of did when they felt like doing it. There was no obvious on or off switch, no clear definable list of powers and functions to choose from. The elements just were. Trixie didn't doubt that they were powerful beyond any other singular form of magic known to ponykind. She felt that power herself and seen it in action. She just didn't like the notion of betting her life, and the lives of her friends, and by proxy the safety of Equestria, on something that seemed so finicking.
Nope, nothing like that. This is a day for relaxation and enjoyment with friends. Yes, Trixie will show her friends so much friendship today they won't even know what hit them. Ponyville, nay, the world shall bow before my friendliness, and there is nothing to stand in my way! The natural talent and nature of a performer, combined with a growing love of magic acts he's seen putting on for the locals of Ponyville, brought out something of a dramatic streak in Trixie, one that got away from her at times. She was posing on her hind legs, with her forelegs spread out around her, as if she were imagining the world in her megalomaниacal hooves, or something like that. Then, there was a knock on the door. Trixie looked at the door of her house with narrowed eyes. She knew that kind of knock. No. There was that knock again. The obvious, insistent, hectic, frantic knock of a pony that wanted something for Trixie. Something work-related. No, 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 no! Whether mundane work or taking care of some random disaster, there would be something she needed to do, and there would go her day off. That was what the knock meant. Only ponies who had work for her to do, or some catastrophic matter, like signing something, for her to attend, not like that. I'm not here! Go away! The Trixie you are trying to reach is no longer in service! Blast it all, they were still knocking! But, friends! Free time! Her day off! The fate of Equestria depended on her being lazy and not doing work today! Couldn't Pony see that? After it became clear that the incessant knocking wasn't going to stop, Trixie heaved out a resigned sigh. Oh, fine. I'll answer the door, then do whatever stupid thing it is they want me to do. When Equestria is set on fire by Corona, and we couldn't stop her because I wasn't able to spend time with my friends to boost our harmony levels, or however those stupid elements work, I am going to put it in my epitaph that it was the fault of this one pony who wouldn't stop knocking on my day off! Trixie went up to the door and opened it with a cold magic, with a barely suppressed scowl, said, What? To thin air. She looked left, looked right, nothing still. Down. Oh. There was a young Earth Pony filly with a bright yellow coat and blue mane looking up with brown-eyed eyes. Trixie stared at her for a moment, taken aback by the filly's earnest expression. Yes. Can I help you? The filly's eyes went even wider, if that was possible, and her mouth barely opened. She whispered in a tone of near reverence that took Trixie completely off guard, and made her feel a tad pleased. Is that really you? The filly said between gasps of air, apparently out of breath from her frantic knocking. Are you her? The great and powerful Trixie? Trixie blinked, for a second, not sure what to make of the awe in the filly's voice. Then Trixie grinned, broadly and smugly. So this was a fan, then? Some filly who had seen her magic show and come for an autograph? Of course she was! The title was a dead giveaway, as among the various stage names she used to build herself up, the one the filly had used was among Trixie's favorites. An autograph wouldn't take long at all, and she could go easily about spending time with her friends today. Strange that the filly had knocked so frantically, like she was in trouble or something. But Trixie supposed she couldn't help it if some of her fans were just that eager to speak with her. Why, yes, I am. Normally, I don't do autographs outside of performance, but since you've gone through the trouble to come to my home, I'd be happy to. Oh, please, you have to do please, let's go! The filly frantically threw herself onto Trixie, wrapping one of Trixie's forelegs and shaking it as she shouted a fast jumble of words in a voice of pure desperation. Trixie, too stunned to respond, just sort of stood there for several seconds as the filly bawled. Trixie took Trixie's leg and babbled words spoken so fast Trixie wasn't understanding of one of them. Before she could respond, however, a concerned, feminine voice said from above her, Trixie, what's going on? Trixie looked up to see Ditsy Do in her blue mail-mare uniform, and Shatzel hover around the corner of Trixie's house. The gray-coated blonde Pegasus was giving the filly a worried look, and in turn, questioning one at Trixie. What? I don't know! She just showed up on my doorstep! I don't know who she is! Trixie said quickly, not pulling away from the filly, but certainly looking uncomfortable at the situation. Actually, now that she just heard herself say it, Trixie did a quick mental checklist of all the fillies she knew in Ponyville.
Having done a number of magic shows when time permitted since starting her official duties as Night Court representative in Ponyville, she had gotten pretty familiar with most of the foals in town, as there were few that missed many of her performances. This filly wasn't at all familiar. Ditsy, nodding and immediately snapping into parental mode, floated down and put a hoof on the young filly's shoulder, saying soothingly,
There. Slow down, honey. It's okay. Just take a deep breath and tell us what it is you're going to say.
The filly quickly quieted down and wiped her face, doing as she had been bade, and took a few deep breaths. Trixie had to admit she was a tad envious of Ditsy's facility with foals. Trixie could work with them well enough when she was doing a performance, and certainly enjoyed entertaining them. But outside of that, she had little experience dealing with foals, especially hysterical ones. Ditsy Dew, on the other hoof, was a single mother, who by all accounts was what any parent should strive to be. Trixie couldn't imagine a pony more suited to being the element of kindness. The filly had to take a minute or two to calm herself, take a deep breath, even when she still seemed to be practically vibrate with a nervous energy as she looked up to Trixie, still teary-eyed, and said,
You've got to help us. You're the only one who can. Help who, honey?
Coaxed Trixie, calling in a soft voice.
My town! Owen! The mayor sent me to fight Trixie!
The elements of harmony, then.
You were sent to get help from them.
Trixie pursued, the gears in her mind turning. She figured sooner or later, probably sooner, some ponies would start coming to her and her friends to help deal with this, that, or the other thing. It was a general knowledge that being an element or harmony conveyed no actual special power or ability beyond what the pony already had before becoming one. The power of the elements only worked when all of them were together, and even then Trixie wasn't sure how that power activated, or even what it could conceivably be used for, other than giving a mentally unstable sun alicorns the equivalent of a magical enema. Still, if this filly was looking for help, she didn't see any reason to not hear her out. So that name, Oaton, it sounded oddly familiar. Where she had heard that name before. The filly just looked at Trixie in a puzzled manner, the head tilting to the side.
Elements? Oh! That's what that nice mare I met on the road called you when I asked her where Ponyville was, and if she heard of you. I don't know of any elements, but I'm definitely here for you.
It was Trixie's turn to look puzzled, as she peered down at this little filly.
If you don't need me because I'm an element, then why do you need me? Why? Because you're the hero of Oaton, that's why!
Trixie's eyes widened, and she and Ditsy exchanged looks. Then, Trixie blurted the first thought that ran through her mind.
I'm the what of what now?
My little pony, ah,
my little pony, friendship never meant that much to me, my little pony. But you're all here now, I can see.
Stormy weather, lots to share, a musical bond,
with love and care, teaching laughter. It's an easy feat, and that's it makes it all complete. You have my little ponies. How did I ever make so many true friends?
You're watching the Lunaverse, made by Rainbow Double Dash. It can happen only on the Hub. Presented by Hasbro. Read by Martial Art Fruit User. And advertisement is paid for by funding from Smooth Shredders Incorporated. It was late afternoon now, with the elements of harmony having gathered at Trixie's home, with their own daily obligations were done, and Ditsy, during her mail rounds, had spread the word of what was happening. Trixie's living room was a little crowded, with all of her friends present, but they made do, and Carrot Top had volunteered to cook up dinner for every pony. Trixie was more than happy to let the farmer have of the kitchen. Her skills as a cook completely outshone by Carrot Top's recently developed culinary prowess. Raindrops had a disbelieving expression as he leaned up against one of the walls. Lyra just looked bemused, lounging on a couch. Cheerilee was looking like she was trying not to laugh, and hiding it very well. Ditsy had at least the propriety to look away and cover her mouth when she chuckled. Carrot Top was just barely visible in the kitchen, glancing their way, and clearly paying attention, but otherwise focused on cooking to show reaction to, well,
Is it true you can grow 100 feet tall whenever you want?
The filly, who introduced herself as Bushel, hadn't detached herself from Trixie for a second time since he got her to calm enough to at least partially explain what this was all about. And during the time Trixie was waiting for her friends to gather in the hopes of salvaging at least part of the day for some quality time with them, the filly had also been asking a constant stream of questions, most of which were ridiculous beyond belief. But Trixie couldn't deny a certain warm glow as she felt her ego getting a hefty stroke.
Such a feat isn't hard, she said, straightening her shoulders. Then quickly amended, sort of. I can make myself like that tall without difficulty in any case. I think.
She probably could, she thought, as she puzzled out a few magical theories on proper illusion spell to create a realistic fabrication of a 100-foot tall version of herself. She had to sacrifice a little on tactile development to get that size, but she thought she could manage it.
I actually was 100 feet tall once,
Raindrops said with a small laugh. Don't hear any fillies calling me a hero for it, though.
It was really more like 50 feet tall, Trixie said, and poison joke doesn't count.
That dragon sure seemed to think it counted when I bucked him in the face! Anyway, is this filly sure she got the right hero? I mean, you don't even seem to remember this Oaton, Trixie. Bustle scrunched up her nose and shouted before Trixie could reply.
Trixie is too the Hero of Oaton! My mom and pa told me so!
Where is Oaton, anyway? Laura asked. I've never heard of it. Cheerilee calmed her chuckles enough to say,
It's a hamlet to the southwest, on the route between Ponyville and Huffington. There's no train that goes there directly, but there's a way station ponies could get off at, and follow the road a few miles there.
You've been there? Asked Lyris, and Cheerilee took her head.
Just know my geography. Apparently, I don't know my history as well as I thought, though.
The tracer grinned. The Hero of Oaton must have been a chapter I missed.
Apparently I did too,
thought Trixie, a little more morosely as she whacked her brain. Raindrops was right on that count. For the life of her, she just couldn't remember Oaton, or anything that Bushel was talking about. If she was a hero, she wanted to remember it! Bragging rights were always better when they were legitimate, after all. One would think that this would be the kind of thing that would stick out in a pony's memory anyway. Saving a whole town from whatever it supposedly saved it from.
Come on,
said Carrot Top, poking her head out of the kitchen.
Stop nettling Trixie. She clearly doesn't know what this is about, and I, for one, want to know why Bushel was here, said so far from home just to get her. Yeah, I don't know what the mayor was thinking, sending a young filly by herself across country like that, said Ditsy, looking at Bushel. That's no kind of journey for a foal to make alone.
Cheerilee nodded, her smile still present, but no longer quite amused.
All right. No more laughing on my part. It's a little funny, though, seeing Trixie all flustered. I'm not flustered! I'm merely a tad confused. Besides, what's so funny about some ponies thinking me as a hero?
The part where you clearly don't remember what Bushel's talking about? Raindrops said with a shrug. No offense, Trixie. You're my friend, and you showed you could pull through in a pinch. But to be honest, you don't exactly exude heroic qualities, you know. I doesn't even begin to cover this!
Hey! shouted Bushel. You take that back! She is a hero! I know it! She's got a song and everything!
That caused all gathered to stare at the filly. Lyra's interest seemed mostly piqued.
Song?
Lyra asked, leaning towards Bushel. Bushel nodded her head viciously, and without any prompt, began to launch into song. Her squeaky voice a tad high-pitched, but otherwise slipping easily into a jaunting and fast-paced tune.
Trixie! The mare they call Trixie! She stood up for right, and she stood against wrong. She fought injustice, as you'll hear in this song. Our love for her now is easy to see. The Hero of Oaton, their mare they call Trixie. Now Trixie saw our crops were dying. She heard our cries for water. She saw that lumber guild building without a care for her they were in. She said, you won't harm my ponies, you can't dry up all their land. So Trixie put on her hat, and in no time flat, burned down the guild's wretched dam.
Raindrops came over to Trixie, leaning in and whispering, any of this ringing any bells? Trixie slowly shook her head, unable to qualify any of what was being sung with what her memory was telling her. The Lumber Guild was an ambiguous term. It could reference any number of small organizations that handled lumber acquisition all over Equestria, and she certainly didn't remember burning down any dams. Trixie's confusion aside, kept Bushel right on singing, hopping on top of the chair and jumping to a bookstand, much to the dismay of Ditsy, who kept floating nearby to catch the filly if she had fell. She stood up for right and she stood against wrong. She thought in justice as you'll hear in this song. Our love for her now is easy to see. The hero of Oaton, the mare they call Trixie. Now the guild came after our hero, waving permits and thinking themselves sly. But the mare they call Trixie, even while tipsy, showed the guild's permits for lies. Something was starting to turn in Trixie's mind. Small snippets of memory that were beginning to surface from the recesses of memory from her early years at Night Court, arranging themselves into place with each additional line of the song. She brought back water to our fields. She brought back hope to our hearts. Then the mare they called Trixie, still quite tipsy, galloped off that night full of stars. She stood up for right and stood against wrong. She fought in justice, as you'll hear in this song. Our love for her now is easy to see. The hero of Oaton, the mare they call Trixie. The filly had sung with such energy and exuberance that none of the elements had dared to interrupt, though Trixie had seen various looks that ranged from shock to amusement, and ultimately curiosity as they all looked her way. As Bristol caught her breath after such rigorous singing, Raindrops gave Trixie a raised eyebrow and gestured a hoof at the filly. So, care to elaborate on any of that? Maybe, Trixie said, as fragments of memory continued to link up in her mind, until finally a somewhat coherent picture formed and the dots connected. The Azure Unicorn's jaw dropped slowly as she finally did remember Oaton. Bustle, she said in as sweet as a voice as she could manage, in an attempt to imitate Ditsy. Could you give me and my friend a few minutes alone, please? Bristle's eyes widened and began to water as her lips quavered. You didn't like the song? Trixie was quick to say in a panic. What? No! I mean, yes, it was a very nice song. Very, provoking. Yes, not provoking. I just need a little time to talk hero-y stuff with my friends. That's all. The filly looked as she was about to cry, but Dizzy came to the rescue, and with a few whispered but firm assurances that yes, Trixie did in fact like the song, and that everything was all right, was able to usher Fussels upstairs. With the filly out of earshot, Trixie was finally able to look at her gathered friends to try to explain things. All right, so maybe I kind of sort of recalled going to a village called Oaton. It was over a year ago, back when I was trying to get involved in the Night Court with sort of mixed results. Defined mixed results, said Raindrops. Not entirely succeeding as much as I may have, less than fully succeeded of any of my plans, but as a result, had many useful learning experiences. So you pretty much failed. A lot. I was trying to put a positive spin on it. I know. So, did you save the town or something, like it says in the song? Asked Carrot Top as she stirred a pot of something that smelled good enough to get Trixie's mouth watering. Did you commit arson, like it says in the song? Asked Raindrops with a wry grin. No. Yes. A little of both. Look, I was drunk for most of that night. Like it says in the song, said Cheerilee with a chuckle. Let her explain, said Lyra, forelegs crossing, as he lounged back on Trixie's couch. I want to hear this. Don't worry, Ditsy. I'll keep the gigglers in the audience quiet, said Ditsy with a wink, and floated over between Cheerilee and Raindrops, giving them the two fake glares. The two did quiet down, and Trixie resumed her story. So, as I was saying, this was slightly over a year ago. I had no real status per se. I was just the princess's protege, a student with no title or actual place in the court. Luna was trying to teach me the ins and outs of politics, and I figured I'd put those lessons to practical use, and tried to involve myself with the Night Court. With no title or power at all I really could do was try to look for ways to gather information on ponies I could use later, or try to earn favors to call in once I was actually established. The trouble was, I tended to get cornered in a lot of my schemes to get information or collect favors. Instead, I ended up being the one owing favors myself.
One of those favors was ferrying a package to a small farming hamlet called Oaton, near the edge of the South Eversby province. I was rather depressed that day, and may have indulged in bringing a flask of bourbon with me.